The club was originally founded as a collective to practice the martial arts and to take a common, in a sense, vow to train and protect the community and to share that means of self-protection with other Canadians in the same situation, particularly minorities. I'm Gordon Glasheen, and I've been with Hong Luk for over 40 years, through the whole 1970s, and a long time practitioner in here and an instructor here among others for a long time. The original founders, there were two professional martial artists. That was their specialty, that was their education. Grandmaster Paul Chan, Chun Chu Yuk, and Grandmaster Jean Chan. He sometimes writes it as Jim Chan. That's Chun Jun, or in the Toisan dialect, Chun Jin. And they are both top experts in slightly different versions of Choi Lei Fut. But this organization's owned this building since, I think, 1966. The known history of Kensington, applies here as well. The organization itself was in the older Chinatown, a few blocks away, and then we had a temporary location between about 61 and 63 or so on Spadina. But in terms of our neighborhood, Chinatown, of course, itself moved west. So this is the main downtown Chinatown. There's just a remnant of the older Chinatown. When the new City Hall was built, that took out most of the old Chinatown. The founders actually worked, in that area. But in the period of the 70s and 80s, they were employed in this section. Our two main seafoods had a dry goods store across the street for a while. Importing Chinese herbs and sort of soup packages, that sort of thing. The restaurant that they ran was on top of Gum Moon, the bakery with the Chinese Freemasons on the third floor of the restaurant. East Lake was on the second. That was sort of an off-hours headquarters for us as well. But over the 5 decades, people who join here become part of the Hong Luk society, and they're very interconnected in their generations. Not every generation is fully connected, vertically, but they replicate the same relationships. You're reaching for the multicultural exchanges, and those bondings have always taken place in each era. The training itself produces it, and the fact that, like any skill, it's sort of blind to origin, and the purpose is the activity itself, so it doesn't weed out or filter out for other notions like ethnic group, and a lot of people have ended up with a permanent attachment to the Chinese community developed here. They might have started wanting to learn to kick and punch, and they end up going to study medieval Chinese poetry or modern Chinese economics or something, because suddenly it opened a door. It gave them access to the community. When we went to China in 1985 as a performing group, that was really the thing that created the greatest enthusiasm and astonishment. We were going around to a number of cities that were outside the tourist area. There wasn't much tourism in China at that point anyway, but we were outside the tourist zone. And we were demonstrating a traditional type of Chinese martial art that had been banned for several decades in China for various reasons. That emphasis on the fighting art had been restricted to military training and police training, not for the civilian groups. But the key thing was that this high level of traditional stuff as a museum piece had been developed in a Canadian form by this multi-ethnic, as total brothers, and that was the thing that created the most enthusiasm. At that point, the areas we were in, people were seeing the outside world because the television channels had started to be opened up to Hong Kong. But to actually see us coming in, some of us speaking Chinese, we were all in there actually officially as overseas Chinese. No matter what our ethnic origin, we had overseas Chinese visas, and we were staying in overseas Chinese accommodation. But it was the bonds among us that were creating the greatest enthusiasm. China has millions of Kung Fu experts, but what they saw was a model of internationalism, which Canada modeled very well at that point.